In the Mexican highlands, the temperature is 112 degrees. It's so hot that it blurs your vision, and sweat turns into salt crystals before it even drips. And when the young stunt coordinator's hands began to shake, not from fear, but from something far more dangerous, Dean Martin saw what others couldn't: a man working himself to death to save his family. Durango, Mexico, June 1965. The sons of Katie Elder. 7,000 feet above sea level, but the summer sun at this latitude turns the altitude into an oven. It's so hot that crew members are sent to the medical tent every hour. But Tommy Crawford, 28, a stunt coordinator on his first big production, wouldn't be going to any medical tent. He couldn't risk it, not with his sister dying of leukemia in Los Angeles, not with the daily medical bills piling up. Not when this job was his only chance to make it big, and Dean Martin, the man everyone thought was just there for the paycheck, was about to be the only one who cared enough to stop a disaster. A stunt horse, a body ravaged by heat, a decision none of them would ever forget. But before we get to that moment, you need to understand who these men really were. But before we continue, don't forget to like the video. Write the name of your favorite Hollywood movie in the comments. John Wayne, the Duke, 58 years old. June 1965, and he's still recovering from lung cancer surgery last September. He's lost a lung, but here he is in the Mexican highlands, refusing to slow down, refusing to accept that he might not be invincible. Wayne ran his sets like a benevolent dictator. He demanded perfection, pushed everyone hard, but also protected his people with almost paternal loyalty. If you proved yourself to Duke, showed your courage and honesty, he would fight for you. But first, you had to prove it. Now Dean Martin, Dino, 48 years old. Everyone saw the smooth operator, the man who made everything look easy. But here's what they didn't see. Dean was watching. He was always watching. He grew up poor in Steubenville, Ohio, the son of an Italian immigrant barber. He knew what a man looked like when he was desperate. He knew how someone acted when they pushed past their limits, trying to hide the pain, because stopping meant losing everything. Dean had once been that man. He recognized it instantly in others. 6 years earlier, they had worked together on Rio Bravo, Lightning in a Bottle. But this production, Sons of Katie Elder, was different. It was tougher. The heat was worse, the stunts were more dangerous, the pressure was more intense, and both men knew Hollywood was watching to see if they could recapture that Rio Bravo magic. June 7th, 1965. The cast and crew arrive in Durango. Population 45,000, elevation 6,200 feet. The moment they stepped off the plane, the heat hit them like a physical force. 105 degrees Fahrenheit. And it was only 10 in the morning. Stunt coordinator Tommy Crawford was there to greet them. Young, eager, with the hungry look of someone who knew this was a big opportunity. He had worked on smaller productions, B-westerns, TV shows. But this, a major studio film starring John Wayne and Dean Martin, producer Hal Wallace, director Henry Hathaway? This was everything Tommy had worked for. What no one knew yet was that Tommy was working on 3 hours of sleep. He was on the phone with Los Angeles until 2 a.m. talking to his sister's doctor, trying to understand the latest test results, the new treatment protocol, the rising costs. Sarah was 24. Acute lymphoblastic leukemia. 6 months into treatment. The bills had already exceeded $15,000. Tommy's entire stunt coordinator salary was going towards those bills. He was behind on his own rent. He was eating 1 meal a day, and now he was in Mexico, responsible for keeping John Wayne and Dean Martin safe during complex horse stunts and fight scenes. The pressure was unimaginable. Day 1. June 8th. Call time was 6 a.m., and the temperature was already 92 degrees. Production had built a massive western town set on the outskirts of Durango. Saloons, hotels, a jail, all built at 7/8 scale, to make the actors look larger than life. Tommy was going over the day's stunt sequence with his team. A horse chase scene where Wayne's character and Martin's character chased the men who swindled their mothers. On paper, it was simple. 8 horses, 6 stunt riders, a single main street dash at full speed. But Tommy was already sweating through his shirt. Not from the heat, from stress. His hands had started shaking the night before. A slight tremor. He told himself it was caffeine, fatigue, nerves about the big job. Nothing serious. Dean Martin noticed it during the first rehearsal. He was standing to the side watching Tommy demonstrate a dismount technique to one of the riders. He saw that Tommy's fingers couldn't quite grip the saddle horn. He saw him clench his hands twice, trying to stop the trembling. Dean made a mental note. He filed it away in the back of his mind. The scene took 11 takes. The heat was brutal. It hit 107 degrees at 11 a.m. 3 crew members collapsed from heat stroke. But Tommy kept pushing, adjusting, striving for perfection. Because this was his first big movie, and it had to be flawless. Wayne pulled him aside at lunch. "Son, you're doing a good job. Really good. But take it easy on yourself. We've got 12 weeks of shooting ahead of us." Tommy nodded, grateful for the praise. "Yes, sir, Mr. Wayne. Under control." But Dean, sitting nearby, saw Tommy's hands shake as he reached for his water bottle. He saw that he missed the first grab and needed to compose himself before trying again. Dean realized he had to do something about it. Day 2. June 9th. The temperature reaches 110 degrees at noon. The production schedule called for a complex stunt. Wayne's character jumps out of a living room window, then gets into a fistfight with 3 men. Tommy had choreographed every punch, every fall, every breakable piece of furniture. But that morning, Tommy couldn't hold his coffee cup steady. The tremor in his hands had worsened. He had barely slept. Another call from the hospital at 2 a.m., this time about complications, about needing to increase Sarah's treatment intensity, about another $5,000 that wasn't there. Tommy was standing on adrenaline and desperation. The rehearsal went smoothly enough, but something happened on the second take. One of the stunt doubles mistimed his fall and hit a non-breakable support pole. He fell hard. Tommy ran over and Dean saw Tommy's hands were shaking so badly he could barely check the kid's pulse. The stuntman was okay. Bruised ribs, nothing serious. But Hathaway pulled Tommy aside after the shoot. "You okay, Crawford? You seem a bit distracted." "I'm fine, sir. Just adjusting to the altitude and heat." Hathaway studied him for a moment, then nodded. "All right, but take a break if you need to. We have backup coordinators." That was exactly what Tommy couldn't afford. He forced a smile. "I'm fine to go, sir." But he wasn't, and Dean Martin knew it. That evening, Dean found Tommy sitting alone behind the equipment trailers, his head in his hands. Dean approached quietly and sat down beside him. "Tough day," Dean said, not asking a question. Tommy looked up, startled. He tried to compose himself. "Mr. Martin, I'm sorry, I was just—" "Your hands are shaking." Tommy's jaw tightened. He looked at his trembling fingers. "It's nothing. Just stress." "When was the last time you had a proper meal?" Silence. "When was the last time you slept more than 4 hours?" More silence. Dean lit a cigarette and offered one to Tommy. The kid took it and noticed Dean needed both hands to steady it to light it. "I'm not going to tell you what to do," Dean said quietly. "But I've been around long enough to know what a man looks like when he's carrying too much. And whatever you're carrying, it's about to crush you." Tommy's voice broke. "I can't lose this job, Mr. Martin. My sister, she has leukemia. The treatment, I'm the only one who can pay for it. My family is dead. It's just me. And if I lose this coordinator position, I'll be back to daily stunt work. I can't risk that. I can't let her down." He couldn't finish. He was completely broken. Dean sat there, smoked a cigarette, let the kid go outside. When Tommy finally pulled himself together, Dean spoke. "Here's the deal. You'll do your job tomorrow, but you'll also eat 3 meals. You'll drink water every hour. And if those hands get any worse, you tell me. Because if you collapse on set, you'll definitely lose this job. Deal?" Tommy nodded, wiped his eyes. "Yes, sir." "And one more thing. Duke needs to know about this." Tommy's eyes widened in panic. "No, please, Mr. Martin, I can't. Trust me on this, son. Wayne is many things, but he looks out for his people. And right now, you're one of his people." Day 3, June 10th. Record-breaking heat, 113 degrees Fahrenheit, at 2 p.m. Production wraps early, sending everyone back to the hotel. But Tommy stays. He needs to prepare for the big stunt sequence the next day. A horse chase across rocky terrain, multiple riders, high speed, extremely dangerous. Dean found Wayne in his trailer, both trying to escape the heat. "Duke, we've got a situation." Dean explained everything. Tommy's sister, the medical bills, the trembling hands, the kid burying himself in work. Wayne listened, jaw tense, eyes hard. When Dean finished, Wayne was silent for a long time. "That's why he's so tense. The kid's trying to be perfect because he's scared. He'll kill himself tomorrow, or someone else. Those hands, Duke, Parkinson's patients have steadier hands." Wayne stood up. "Where is he now?" "Preparing the stunt course. Let's go." They found Tommy in the fading light, still working, still checking the equipment. His hands shaking so badly he dropped a rope 3 times trying to tie it. "Crawford?" Wayne's voice came from across the set. Tommy turned and saw both stars walking toward him, and his face paled. "Mr. Wayne, Mr. Martin, You were just about to tell me the truth," Wayne said. Not angry, resolute. "Dean enlightened me. Your sister, the bills, everything." Tommy looked like he was about to faint. "Sir, I can do this job, I swear." "I know you can. You're good at what you do. But not like this. Not running on exhaustion and fear." "I can't risk." Wayne raised his hand. "Here's what will happen. Tomorrow's stunt, you'll coordinate from the ground, no hands-on work. You direct, the crew executes. That way, if those hands get worse, no one gets hurt. But this isn't up for debate. Second, you're seeing the production doctor tonight. You're getting those tremors checked out. It could be dehydration. It could be stress. It could be something worse. Either way, we need to know." Tommy's eyes filled with tears. "Mr. Wayne, I can't lose this position. My sister, you're not losing anything. But you're not dying on my watch trying to prove something. And you're definitely not killing yourself. Agreed?" Tommy nodded, unable to speak. Dean placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "We've got your back, Tommy, but you have to let us help you." That night, the production doctor examined Tommy. Diagnosis: severe dehydration, malnutrition, stress-induced essential tremor. Instructions: IV fluids, rest, proper meals. The doctor wanted to keep him on set for 3 days. Tommy pleaded, "Please, I can't miss 3 days. They'll replace me." Wayne, who came to the medical tent, spoke. "No one is replacing you. You're taking tomorrow off. Gather your strength. We'll shoot around the stunt sequence. That will cost this production thousands of dollars. I don't care. You're more important than the schedule." But Tommy's pride wouldn't let him accept that. "Mr. Wayne, with all due respect, let me coordinate tomorrow. Just from the ground. Like you said, I can do it. I have to." Wayne and Dean exchanged glances. Finally, Wayne nodded. "Just ground coordination. And if those hands get any worse, tell me immediately. Deal?" "Deal." Day 4, June 11th. The day that would change everything. Dawn broke hot and merciless. It was already 95 degrees at 6 a.m. The stunt crew gathered on location, a rocky canyon about 5 miles from the main set. The sequence called for 8 horses galloping at full speed through narrow passages, riders tumbling down, simulated gunfire, and carefully choreographed falls. Tommy arrived looking better. The IV fluids had helped. He'd slept for 6 hours, more than he'd had in weeks. His hands were still shaking, but less violently. Wayne pulled him aside before the first take. "You okay?" "I'm fine, Duke. Remember our agreement, just ground coordination." "I remember." The first 3 takes went perfectly. Tommy directed from a safe position. The crew executed flawlessly. Dean watched from the actor's area, seeing Tommy begin to relax, start to believe he could do this. Then came the 4th take. One of the horses spooked. The terrain, the heat, something about a shadow. The rider, Cliff, an experienced stuntman, tried to correct it. But the horse reared up. Cliff fell sideways, landed wrong, and the horse's hind legs landed inches from his head. Cliff was okay, but the horse was now panicked, galloping freely through the canyon. And right in its path was part of the course where the next sequence was supposed to happen, a narrow passage where crew members were setting up equipment. Tommy saw it instantly. The horse would plow through that passage and people would be crushed. He didn't think. He just reacted. Tommy ran toward the panicking horse, waving his arms, trying to steer it away from the crew. It worked. The horse veered off, but now it was coming straight at Tommy. Dean Martin saw it from 50 meters away. He saw Tommy plant his feet, reach out to grab the horse's trailing reins. He saw Tommy's hands, those trembling, unreliable hands, miss the first grab. The horse was charging at full speed. Tommy had one more chance. Dean started running. So did Wayne, but they were too far away. Tommy grabbed it again. This time his fingers closed around the reins, but the horse's momentum pulled him by the feet, dragging him 10 meters across the rocky ground before finally slowing him down, pulling him into a wide circle, and stopping. Dean and Wayne reached him seconds later. Tommy was on the ground, bleeding from dozens of scrapes, his shirt torn, his hands raw from rope burns. But he was grinning. "I caught it." "You crazy son of a bitch," Wayne said, but there was admiration in his voice. "You could have been killed." "I couldn't let the horse hurt anyone." Tommy tried to stand, but his legs wouldn't hold him. The adrenaline crash hit him all at once. His whole body began to shake. Not just his hands. Just give me a minute." Dean caught him before he hit the ground. "Medic! Get the medic here!" But it wasn't serious. Tommy was just exhausted, physically, emotionally, completely drained. The doctor checked him out, bandaged his cuts, made him drink 2 bottles of water. Hathaway called a break in production. The crew gathered around Tommy, congratulating him, thanking him. The kid had saved them from what could have been a disaster. Wayne sat down next to Tommy in the medical tent. "That was the bravest, most stupid thing I've ever seen." Tommy managed a weak laugh. "I figured you'd appreciate stupid bravery." "I do. But here's the thing. You just proved you have the guts for this job. No one questions that anymore. Now you have to prove you have the sense to look out for yourself, because if you don't, all that courage is worthless." Dean knelt down on Tommy's other side. "Duke's right. You saved the team today, but you've been killing yourself for weeks, and that stops now." Tommy's voice was small. "I don't know how to stop. My sister—" Wayne cut him off. "When we get back to LA, I'll make some calls. I know people at Cedars-Sinai. Good people. They'll take on Sarah's treatment, work out a payment plan that doesn't require you to work yourself to death." Tommy looked at him. "Mr. Wayne, I don't want you to. You don't. I'm telling you. This is what we do for family. And on my sets, the crew is family." Dean added, "And once this production is finished, you have a standing offer to coordinate stuntmen on any project I'm attached to. You've proven yourself 10 times over, son. Now prove you can take care of yourself." Tommy was completely broken, not from despair this time, relief, gratitude, the overwhelming realization that he was no longer alone. The Sons of Katie Elder wrapped production 8 weeks later. Tommy completed every stunt sequence, never missing a day, but this time with proper rest, proper meals, and steady hands. The next day, Tommy woke up with the sun. For the first time in weeks, he had slept for 8 hours. His hands were still bandaged, his ribs ached, but something inside him had changed. That crushing feeling of loneliness was gone. At breakfast, Wayne called him over to his table. In production, this was an honor. Sitting at Duke's table put you in the inner circle. When Tommy sat down, Dean was already there, relaxed as always, but his eyes on Tommy were watchful and protective. "I spoke with Cedars-Sinai last night," Wayne said, looking focused on his egg. "I'll talk to Sarah's doctor. We'll work out a payment plan." Tommy's throat tightened. "Mr. Wayne, We won't discuss this, son. I said it, I did it, it's done. Now, your only job is this. Do your work, take care of yourself, focus on being good to your sister." After that day, the set dynamics changed. The crew started treating Tommy differently. No longer the young man who had to prove himself, but the man who was a hero. Cliff, the stunt double Tommy had saved, brought him a bottle of tequila. "You saved my life, brother. That debt can never be repaid." But the biggest change was inside Tommy. Dean checked on him every day. Sometimes he just nodded hello. Sometimes they sat and drank coffee. They never talked much, but Tommy knew he was being watched. Not by FBI agents this time, but by people who genuinely cared and protected him. 3 weeks later, Sarah called from Los Angeles. "Tommy, what did you do?" "The hospital called with a new payment plan. It's manageable now." "How?" "I just met the right people," Tommy said quietly. "The very right people." As production progressed, Tommy's hands calmed. The film was released in July 1965 and was a huge hit. But the real story happened behind the camera. John Wayne called Cedars-Sinai. Sarah Crawford's treatment was restructured and the payment plan became manageable. 9 months later, she went into remission. She lived another 43 years, passing away in 2009 at age 68, surrounded by her family, including her brother Tommy, never forgetting the 2 Hollywood legends who saved both their lives. Tommy Crawford coordinated stuntmen in 3 Dean Martin films and 2 more John Wayne films, eventually becoming one of Hollywood's most respected stunt coordinators, working until the 1990s. When John Wayne died in 1979, Tommy attended the funeral. He approached Dean Martin, who was devastated by the loss of his friend. "Mr. Martin," Tommy said quietly, "I wanted to thank you for the 3rd day, for telling the Duke about my situation. You saved my life that day." Dean nodded, his voice thick with emotion. "Son, you saved yourself. You just needed someone to catch you when you fell. That's all we did. It was everything." Years later, in an interview for a documentary about Hollywood stunt work, Tommy Crawford recounted the story of those 4 days in Durango. People think of Dean Martin as this cold, distant guy who didn't care about anything. But that man saw me die and refused to look away. He and Duke taught me what real strength looks like. It's not about claiming you don't need help. It's about allowing people who care about you to step in when you're drowning. Think about it. How many of us are killing ourselves to prove something, working until our hands shake, our bodies break, and we have nothing left? And how many of us would allow someone to step in and help if they offered? Tommy Crawford was ready to die for his job, for his sister, for a sense of duty. And it took 2 Hollywood legends to show him that accepting help wasn't a weakness. That's wisdom. Who is your Dean Martin? Who is the person who refuses to look away when they see you drowning? One more story before we go. Years after The Sons of Katie Elder, a reporter asked Dean Martin what his proudest moment in Hollywood was. Everyone expected him to talk about his music, his TV show, his movies. Instead, Dean fell silent, then said, "Durango, 1965. Watching a boy named Tommy Crawford catch a runaway horse with steady hands. That's when I understood that courage isn't about being fearless. It's about doing what matters, even when your body gives up." Thank you for watching. Now go out and be someone.